If you're common, it's going to be hard for your business to break out. If you're common, it's going to be hard for your presentation to get booked. If you're common, then why would someone read your blog? So we keep asking ourselves, what is my EEE? And in fact, that's what I help clients do, is figure out what is your EEE, and we'll tell people what that is in a moment. Now, how can you leverage that so whatever it is you say or create or do is uncommon, which is the key to success?
Hi, love. This is Orion's World, previously known as Stellar Life Podcast. I'm Orion, transformational coach, hypnotherapy speaker, and a woman who turned deep pain into wild possibility. I overcame trauma, poverty, abuse, depression, infertility. Doctors gave me 5% chance of conceiving. But I rewrote my story. I created a new one, and the life they said was impossible. Now I travel the world. I'm married to the love of my life, and I am a mom to an amazing little boy. I'm also the founder of Orion's Method, where you connect within, reclaim your power, and manifest your dreams. Welcome to my world, Orion's World. We go deep, we get real, and we rise. This isn't just a podcast, it's an activation. Let's go. Hi, and welcome to the show. You know that you're one of a kind. I know that you're one of a kind. But does the world know that you are one of a kind? I have with me today Sam Horn, internationally recognized as the Intrigue expert and CEO of the Intrigue Agency. Sam has helped thousands of entrepreneurs break out instead of blend in. She is the author of 9 acclaimed books, including the Washington Post bestseller, Got Your Attention, and her game-changing book, Pop. Sam's insights have been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, Fast Company, and Inc. And she's delivered inspiring presentations for organizations like Boeing, Intel, NASA, and at prestigious events including the Fortune 500 Forum. In today's powerful conversation, we dive deep into how to become a one-of-a-kind in the marketplace based on Sam's brilliant insights. First, Sam reveals why standing out is no longer optional in today's crowded market and how to craft messaging that capture attention instantly. Then we explore practical techniques you can implement immediately. And finally, Sam helps me come up with a one-of-a-kind, very, very, very surprising keynote presentation title I would never ever dreamed of actually coming up with myself. She is brilliant. I worked with her in the past. She's unbelievable. And really, she's just amazing. Amazing interview, amazing insights, one of a kind, and she will help you become one of a kind. So now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Sam, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, you're welcome. I've been looking forward to sharing some stories and ideas on how we can be one of a kind instead of one of many.
Amazing. Before we begin, maybe you can share with me one of your most favorite childhood memories.
Our parents got us a draft horse when I was 5 years old, and he was a big old black horse named Elko. And he was so gentle that my sister and brother and I could all ride him at the same time. And if he felt us like we were about to fall off, he would stop until we regained our balance. And only then would he resume walking. He was as much a babysitter as he was a horse. We really loved Elko.
That's amazing. I spent a weekend at my friend in Texas, and she's got a ranch, and I was really afraid of horses, but she had those, I don't know what's the name of those horses, but they're very, very tall. And she had a very tall, very beautiful black horse. But I spent time just cleaning after them, feeding them, brushing them. And after that weekend, no more fear. of horses. It was amazing.
Isn't it wonderful? Because I can only imagine that if you see a tall horse, it's intimidating. But if you brush the horse and the brush snuffs you, which is like, sniff, sniff, kind of nestles you, then all of a sudden it's not a tall horse. It's this lovely being that's receiving you, brushing it and taking care of it. And it becomes a very special relationship with that horse, doesn't it?
Right. Do you think that your connection with horses helps you with your connection with people?
I just love that question. It is a reporter once asked where I got my confidence. And I said, on the back of a horse. Because, I mean, when my sister was 8 and I was 7, we would be gone all day on our horses. We lived in a small mountain valley and, our parents didn't warn us about danger. They didn't go, oh, be careful. They said, if you get bucked off, figure it out. If your bridle breaks, figure it out. And as a result, we got very resourceful. And instead of seeing the world as a dangerous place, we see it as an adventurous place. And instead of worrying that something might go wrong, we think things will probably go wrong. And when we do, we'll figure them out.
Yeah. You wrote so many books about so many topics. How did you discover your passion and how do you go about tackling a topic?
Well, I have criteria. I look for something that hasn't been done before because the world really doesn't need another book on stress management or customer service or leadership. That's been said before, right? So I keep my antenna up for what gets my eyebrows up. When I wrote the book Pop, what I noticed is that a lot of people had really good businesses or ideas or products, but they looked like everything else. And so I came up with this book on how to come up with a first of its kind title, how to come up with a way to describe what you're offering that people had not heard before, where their eyebrows, oh, that's interesting. Oh, tell me more. And so what I look for is a topic that gets people's eyebrows up, that's relevant, that they can use, that actually helps them lead a better life or create a better career.
How did you find your uniqueness?
How I find my uniqueness, George Washington Carver said, when you can do a common thing in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. So I'm reaching out to everyone right now is just kind of take a personal vow that you will not be content to be common. If you're common, it's going to be hard for your business to break out. If you're common, it's going to be hard for your presentation to get booked. If you're common, then why would someone read your blog? So we keep asking ourselves, what is my EEE? And in fact, that's what I help clients do is figure out what is your EEE, and we'll tell people what that is in a moment. Now, how can you leverage that so whatever it is you say or create or do is uncommon, which is the key to success? Want to know what EEE is?
I'm so curious.
Okay. And guess what? We're going to do this for you right in our session, right? So that if we workshop this in our podcast and in our interview, then everyone listening can do the same for themselves. So number one, unless they're driving, I hope they have paper and pen because I ran the Maui Writers Conference for 17 years. Writers Digest said it was the best writers conference in the world. And the number one takeaway from 17 years was ink it when you think it. So if people listening want to break out instead of blend in, because blending in is for Cuisinarts, not for creatives or coaches or consultants, then write this down. So the first E is experience. Now, I'm going to ask you, Orion, what is something you've done that is uncommon? Where is somewhere you've been? What is something you've experienced? And not a lot of people have done that. It's kind of rare. So tell me an experience that you've had that was meaningful to you, but that it was not something that a lot of people get to do.
Yeah, well, when I was in my early 20s, I left the countries with like $700 in my pocket and I went to Japan. That was good for like 3 days in Japan back then. But I ended up staying for 3.5 years. I traveled over 42 countries. I studied from like the best leaders and luminaries in the world. I don't know. I had a lot of uncommon things in my life.
Okay, let's right now we're going to bullet those because see what we're doing is we're coming up with your unique IP. IP is intellectual property. What are you bringing to the table that people go, "Wow, that's interesting. I want to know more." Oh, put me in the seat. Tell me what that was like. Because when you bring unique experience into your book or your speaking, people are vicariously getting to experience things that they never have and perhaps never will. So see, bullets, you have $7 in your pocket. I can see you writing a blog about $7 in my pocket, right?
No, 700, 700. I would not be able to go with a $7. 700.
700. There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
$700 in my pocket. Still, people would want to read that. And now we also think about a metaphor. $700 in your pocket doesn't sound like much, but it was enough to get you out the door, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. It was enough for a few days.
Okay. So see, the message, if you were going to write a LinkedIn blog about that or speak about that, was to ask people, what is something you want to do, but you feel you don't have enough right now? You're not ready right now, and it's keeping you stuck. $700 may not be enough to stay 3.5 years, but it was enough to get you out for 7 days, right?
Right, something like that, even less.
Okay. Now, tell me, how did 7.5 days turn into 3.5 years? What did you say at the end of 7.5 days where you thought, well, I'm not going home. I'm going to continue to explore. Put me in the scene where you made that decision.
I think I made the decision to stay like 2 weeks. But it was not enough and it was hard. And I just decided to find work. So worked as a waitress and kind of like find my way there.
Okay. So now, and like you went to work as a waitress. So you thought, I really don't want to go home. I'm having too much fun, or this is like a special experience. I don't want it to be over, but I'm going to have to pay bills. I'm going to have to, right? So tell me, how did you get that job as a waitress?
I just went down Rapongi, was the foreigner area, and I just knocked on doors basically, asking for job. And and then in order to stay, I became a student. I studied Japanese, and that's how I stayed. I got a student visa.
So you see, so you talked about knocking on doors. I see another LinkedIn blog, which is, are you willing to knock on doors? See, you didn't wait for people to give you a job. You didn't wait for money to show up. You thought, I need to work. I need to earn this and I need to initiate on my own behalf. So you knocked on doors. Now, for people reading this or listening to your talk, it's like, so if you know what you want, but are you waiting for it to come to you? You know, or are you willing to knock on doors? Are you willing to put yourself out there? Are you willing to take the first step? So now tell me about you becoming a student. What did you study?
Japanese. Yeah, but you know what? I think there was a core message there that I didn't share. Like one of the things that led me is like my mom gave me the book The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and I really believed in manifestation. So I would like go down the streets of Omotesando, which is a very like fancy Champs-Élysées of Tokyo, right? But every few designer houses, there was a little Shinto temple, and I would throw a coin and I would clap my hand and say a prayer and then like thank you for my guides and angels that are leading me in the right way. And I was kind of like a Pollyanna, no, like I wasn't afraid of not having. I knew something would come up, and I would look around and I was very much in gratitude and appreciation for everything around me all the time, and so grateful to be there. And I think being in that high level vibration is what created the long stay and the ability to do this.
I see we are talking out your presentation or your book right now because you see, when we go into your experience and then we unpack it and then we hook and hinge it to our readers or our audience. So see, we don't just tell our story. Here's my story. Here's what I did. No, that's about you. When you talk about, and I would ask people if they're taking notes, put a vertical line down the center, and over on the right, in the right hand column, you're talking about being in a high vibration. You're talking about reading and learning. You're talking about being grateful. Now, over on the left, we would put like imposter syndrome, or we would put doubts or fears or worry. Because see, many people, it's like, how am I going to earn a living? What if I can't find a job? Nobody knows me here. They stay on the left and they go down the rabbit hole of doubts and worries and concerns. No, you are over in the right hand column being grateful, studying, learning, receiving, and being appreciative and thankful for the opportunities that were coming your way. So now you would hook and hinge back to your readers and say, so how do you spend your mind time? Are you over there on the left? Are you thinking, well, no one's ever going to hire me? Or are you thinking, well, it's only a matter of days before I run out of money? Or are you over here on the right, giving thanks and appreciate and choosing to be grateful instead of grumpy?
Yeah.
Shall we keep going?
Yeah, yeah. What you want to know about more experiences?
For your audience, let's shift to the 3 E's. Let's go to the next E because you've got the idea. Everyone listening, just start unpacking your unique experiences, where you've been, what you've done that people would like to do or haven't done or might find interesting, because often that ends up in a blog, that ends up in a book, that ends up in a presentation, because you're making something accessible where people haven't thought of it that way, haven't seen it that way, and now they do through your experience, which is a story, which keeps it interesting. Shall we go on to the next E?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's look at your expertise. Now, your expertise isn't just like a college education, though. It's what you're good at, that other people would pay you to teach to them or do for them. So now we come into your knowledge, your talents, your skills. Like, are you really good at language? Do you speak several languages?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
I speak English, Hebrew, and Japanese, rusty Japanese, and a little bit of Arabic.
Boom. Okay, so see, we've already identified a skill where other people would like, oh, I would like to be multilingual. Oh, I would like to learn how to speak Hebrew. Oh, I would like to do that. So see, you have a skill to pay the bills, so to speak, right? However, once again, we go beneath the story to find the other stories. It's not just that you're multilingual. It's not that you can just speak several languages. Tell me, what is it that made that a priority for you? Why did you decide to study several?
Oh, well, it's just that in Israel you learn English in school. And sometimes you can take Arabic classes. So it was a part of my education. And in Japan, I needed Japanese because I don't speak a lot of English. And I needed my visa.
Okay, so you had practical reasons. You needed the visa. However, also, it was part of you being able to live in the world and immerse yourself in the culture. Because, if we travel somewhere and we can't speak their language, we never really feel like we belong there, do we? We don't understand what people are talking about. We're in a restaurant and we don't understand what's going on. So we feel like we're a perpetual stranger if we don't speak the language, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So now I'm going to go somewhere else. Tell me about this skill. How has it given you confidence, or how has it given you comfort to be able to go places and not feel like a stranger? Tell me how that skill feels to you.
It feels nice. I like surprising waitresses in sushi restaurants. It definitely gave me confidence, but I never see my languages as a skill, more like my skills as like my other skills as skills that are confident building, Like the way I can be present with a client, or when I do a hypnotherapy session, the way I help them and are able to connect and channel and hold them, or my speaking on stage skills. I'm very charismatic on stage, so those are things that give me confidence.
All right. Now let's write those down, right? Because these are all skills that go into your mix of IP. You talked about being charismatic on stage. There's a lot of people who would like to learn from you how to be charismatic on stage, right? You talked about the ability to be present for your clients and channel. There's a lot of counselors and therapists and psychologists who they're thinking about, how they have to drive home at rush hour, or, it's only 3 o'clock and they got 3 more clients, etc. So they would love to learn from you about how you're present, how you're able to channel. You talked about, I'm going to go. So I'm asking everyone listening and watching, write down the skills that are top of mind. Like you said, I'm charismatic on stage. I can channel people, etc. So just rat tat tat. What are you good at that maybe other people aren't good at? And they could learn from you reverse engineering how you got good at that. So it's a shortcut for them. This is where you provide shortcuts for people who would like to be good at what you're good at. And then I'm going to challenge people. Write down something that you don't think of as a skill. Because, see, you said that you didn't really think of language as a skill.
No, so natural.
I'm so glad you said that. They're one of the most intriguing ideas about skills is that what comes naturally to us, we assume it comes naturally to others. So we actually devalue it because we think, well, of course, it's easy. Guess what? In inverse proportion to how easily it comes to you is how hard it is for others. And instead of devaluing that gift is to understand that instead of assuming, well, this is obvious, this is no big deal, it actually is a big deal because it's hard for others. It's impossible for others. And if you could make it as easy for them as you make it for yourself, now you've got something. What do you think about that?
I think it's a really good point. Yes. What's the next E?
Okay. I'm going to say one more thing about this is that I'm going to give you a quick example. I work in the tennis industry with Rod Laver. And Rod Laver won the Grand Slam of tennis twice. That's the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. And we used to put on tennis camps, and Rocket would be showing them how to volley. And he would go, it's like this. And people go flop, 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 flop. And he would go, no, it's like this, But see, it had been so long since he had thought about the mechanics of the strokes. He could not teach them because they were so automatic for him. When I work with clients, I understand that what comes easily and automatically for you, if you can reverse engineer it, if you can go back, well, how do I walk? Why am I charismatic on stage? Why do I love filling a room with my energy?
I just love it. I feel it's almost like I feel the energy of the audience. It's like it's amazing. It's like being in this like energetic bubble of give and take, and knowing that I'm affecting change and knowing that I'm changing someone's heart. It feels good.
Okay, so see, now when it comes to being one of a kind instead of one of many, we codify the steps to your expertise. In other words, you talked about it's an energy bubble. I love, affecting change. Now, think of the opposite of that. Most people, I was just at TED in Vancouver, and you may know that at TED, you have to submit your script like weeks in advance. And when they rehearse, if you get a word wrong, they stop you and they correct you. What happens is that many people get in their head. They're so afraid they're going to get a word or get something wrong that they're not charismatic because they're not thinking about infusing the audience with energy as you were. They're not thinking about affecting change. They're thinking about what am I supposed to say next? So do you see how it talking about if you're self-conscious when speaking, or if you dread it or are afraid of it, you're probably over there worrying about getting it right. And you see how if you can shift them into what comes naturally for you, which is the joy of having this opportunity to like infuse people with this energy, what a gift it is, what a blessing it is. Do you see how that would be your contribution to the world if you can do that for more people, right?
Yes, yes. And it didn't come naturally. I used to be really afraid. I had to work on that. I used to be afraid to speak on in the microphone and ask a question in a conference. And when I first did that, that was amazing. That was a breakthrough.
Okay, so now you brought up a breakthrough, and we're going to get into our third E right now, which is epiphanies. Epiphanies are revelations. Epiphanies are like, oh, I see now. Epiphanies are like, oh, I understand what's important. And so, see, you just talked about breakthrough, and epiphanies are breakthroughs. When the light goes on and the band plays, and suddenly we can do something, or we understand we've been doing it wrong and there's a better way, or we get crystal clear about something that was confusing before. So now put me in the stage of where the epiphany happened, where instead of being afraid, you actually enjoyed it. What happened?
Well, first I didn't die. I
I
spoke on the
didn't
mic and I didn't
die.
die. That was great.
That's wonderful.
Uh, but I studied acting, and I think one of my epiphanies was that it was very easy to be on stage as a character, and it was very hard to be on stage and just be me. It was very, very easy to hide behind the character, but to be me, the vulnerable and open, and share, you know, the way I speak with, and most of my life were in the States, so with my accent, that was, and who would even want to hear me, like all those negative thoughts and imposter syndrome. Um, but the more I did it and the more training I took, then like everything fell into place, and now the stage feels like home. I still get super scared before I talk, but it's not fear, it becomes excitement.
Well, see, you are talking out once again a chapter in a book, a presentation, and now you'll see why it works to put a vertical line down the center of the paper, and over on the left are the beliefs and the behaviors that sabotage our success. And like you said, over on the left, you thought, well, I have an accent, right? Is that maybe be a deterrent? You thought like, who would want to listen to me? And over on the left, you thought, when I act, I get to be a character. And it's the people, so in a way, you're taking yourself out of the game, right? Because it's not they're judging you, it's the character, right?
Right, right.
Over on the right, you talked about, it became home for you when you realized that you could be vulnerable. You did not have to be perfect over on the left. You could be yourself. And that is actually more relatable to people. When you go first and when you share something personal, it kind of gives them permission to not be perfect and to be vulnerable as well. Is that what you find?
Absolutely.
So do you see now, if you're writing about this or speaking about this, you ask. This is what I call a hook and hinge. So 60-second story about this. At the Maui Writers Conference, we had an Olympic athlete who talked about training for the games, made the team, and then he choked in his heats. He did not even make it to the finals. And everyone back home was saying, when are you going to be on TV? Well, he's not going to be on TV. He didn't make the finals. And he quit the sport. And then 2 years later, he was so disgusted with himself, he went back into training, made the team, got a medal, end of story. Now I'm the MC and I'm looking around and people are giving him polite applause, but I could tell what they were thinking. Well, good for you. What's that got to do with me? Because he never once at the end of his story did he ask three you questions. Never did he say, have you ever had a dream that didn't work out? Did you throw in the towel and quit? Did you not feel you could live with yourself and go back? So do you see how when you tell your story about stage becoming home for you because you know you're affecting change and you can be yourself and you don't have to be a character or be perfect, You say, how about you? Do you dread speaking in public? Do you know that it's like people fear it more than dying? Well, guess what? I did it and I didn't die. And here's now why I look forward to it, why I enjoy it instead of afraid of it. And we keep asking questions of the audience. Would you like to be able to enjoy being on stage instead of being afraid of it? Would you like for it to feel like home instead of being this place that you would not? And you see, when you ask, now your story is their story. And this is two-way communication, not one way communication. Do you see how you have a revelation, you have a breakthrough, you unpack it? What was preventing that? What was your before? What is your now? And how can you codify that and ask it? So for other people, the lights are going on and the band playing. I never thought of it that way. Yes, that's what I want. Yes, that's what I'm doing. Now I have a better way. And that's how our EEE is unique. Do you see? These are all your stories. You didn't get them out of Chat GPT. You didn't get them out of somebody else's book. They're your stories. That's how we're unique. In today's world of AI, people are yearning for people like you who are real and who share their experience, their expertise, their epiphanies, because that's when we connect. And that's the purpose of communication, is to connect.
That's amazing. So when you speak to people, so in order to be unique, you bring your experience, expertise, and epiphanies. But how do you communicate to people when you're not on stage? When people just meet you, how do you communicate? I'm special. Buy from me.
Okay, let me talk about my book Pop, which Seth Godin said was revolutionary. Is that now we talk about coming up with a one of a kind title. We come about coming up with a 60-second description, a one sentence tagline that helps us pop out of the pack. So I'll give you an example. And this book right here. So first, the 60-second story, then we'll unpack it for you. Sound good? So I'm in Hawaii and I'm giving a course called Dealing with Difficult People Without Becoming One Yourself. Now that's a pretty good. It's in a beat, and when we put it in a beat, we make it easy to repeat. It's alliteration, dealing with difficult people. So you see, it's a crafted title. But here's the thing. If you go online and you look for difficult people, there are thousands of people writing about that topic, speaking about that topic. So see, I'm one of many, not one of a kind. Well, now here's where the story comes in and how we can come up with a title that gets our foot in people's mental door so they want to know more. At our first break, there was a gentleman. He didn't even get up to get a cup of coffee. He just sat there gazing off into space. I'm curious. I went over. I said, "What are you thinking?" He said, "Sam, I'm a real estate broker." He said, "I took this class because I thought you were going to teach us some zingers to fire back at people and put them in their place. That's not what this is about." I agreed. And he said, "I'm a student of martial arts." He said, "I've studied karate, taekwondo, judo." He said, "What you're talking about is like a verbal form of kung fu, isn't it?" Eureka! Tung Fu. Tung Fu is a first of its kind name, which means I could trademark it, which means it's been selling around the world for 25 years, which means I certify people in it. I've spoken at the U.S. Embassy in London. I've spoken in Seoul, Korea, at the Asian, it's the number one business book in Turkey because I came up with a one of a kind name that in a very crowded field of communication or conflict resolution, there's no book called Tung Fu except this one. And it has driven a very nice career for 25 years. So would you like to know how to do that for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sam, I like to know everything that you teach. You are one of the most fascinating people I've ever met in my life. We met prior. I actually had some coaching with you, and you have endless knowledge. And the way you see people is remarkable. You're just so brilliant. Now go on.
Well, first, thank you. I can only imagine in your work, you had talked about receiving. And so I'm receiving what you said. I'm not just brushing it off and moving on. Aren't we fortunate to do work we love that makes a difference? And isn't it wonderful if someone's kind enough to see us and to express what you just did? So thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, what do you call your presentation now?
Oh, the ones that I have?
Mhm.
The power of your subconscious mind. I have one about how to unleash your inner superhero and how to awaken your inner goddess. I have relationship secrets that your mama didn't tell you.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, see, I listen for what pops out, right? And my filter is, have I heard it before? Is it complex or confusing? Is it like I'm thinking, yeah, that is not really relevant for me. So see, we have criteria for what gets people's eyebrows up and they think, oh, I want to know more. Of everything you just said, what do you think popped out?
The last one, because you lit up.
I lit up. Now, unpack this. Why do you think of everything you said, that last one really got my attention and I think it has a lot of commercial potential?
Because the word secret is already a good word. People like to reveal secrets. And it's just relatable when I said the word mama, like you expect the mom to teach you everything. I mean, we get so disappointed not knowing that, not having a manual for life or relationship. So I guess people can relate to that.
You see, now, once again, part of what you do and what I do, and I want everyone watching and listening to do, is to start paying attention to your words. And when I say codify what you said, I mean pull out the words that you know in a blog that you could number them. Because see, now you're making something on the surface replicable. For example, I took notes on what you said. And as you said, the word secret. If someone is just going to write a blog and they're going to say how to give better customer service. Ugh. Right? Are you going to read that blog? It's just a how to. There's a lot of how to stuff. But if you say 3 secrets to giving better sacrament, ooh, secrets, right? It means you've curated something and it's going to be surprising and unexpected. So see, people write this down. Is my title surprising? Is it unexpected? Does it connote that I have curated content and I'm giving them the best of the best, right? Not just two, but a secret. Oh, okay, I want to know a secret because it's a shortcut. So see, that's one word. Now, you also said it's relatable. Okay, who isn't in a relationship? You know, right?
Who didn't come from a mom? Most of us did, unless.
So see, everyone is in a relationship and I don't care whether it's their customers or whether it's their spouse or whether it's their kids or whether it's their friends or their parents, right? So relationship is something that is relatable and people kind of all want to know how to get better at it. And look, it's contrarian a little bit that your mother didn't tell you. Ooh, what didn't my mother tell me? I know she told me this, but what didn't she tell me that I want to know? So see, you up leveled the intrigue factor of that. The others were a little bit more the power of your your subconscious or something like that, right?
So how would you take that? Well, it's not actually. I don't think it's the power of subconscious mind. It's something with subconscious. I forgot the title because I haven't talked about it for a long time. But how would you take something like unleashing your inner superhero and make it like more juicy?
Oh, juicy is a good word. Okay, let me give you 2 ways. For everyone listening, you would think about a presentation you give, a book you're going to write, a blog you're going to, or a post you're going to give. And you come up with your word bank. Like if we had time, we would go into your word bank. Okay, what are words I frequently use when I'm speaking about this, describing this, explaining? You write down 20 words. Well, I use this word a lot. I use this word a lot. Let's just do 5 of your words. When you're talking about you want to talk about superheroes here?
Sure. I also have awaken your inner goddess. So either let's go with awaken your inner goddess, which is about connecting to your femininity. So I talk about the divine feminine. I talked about the power of being in your feminine, where a lot of people see it as a weakness. I'm talking about creating a version of yourself that you want to step into from the future. And I'm talking about integrating everything that you are, and I'm talking a lot about self-love and acceptance.
All right. Now, I put, me in juxtaposing a vertical line down the center. Over on the left, I put weakness because, see, I was listening for words that would prevent people from being in their inner goddess, their divine goddess, that they would see it as weak, right? Or like, well, you don't want to cry in the boardroom, right? As well, they're not a goddess at work. So over on the left are the objections to this, the barriers to entry to this, the traditional thoughts that would prevent people from doing this. Over on the right, you talked, it's a goddess. I would use the word divine as one word. If you put two words together, you dilute them a little bit, right? So put divine as one word because, see, what do you mean by divine? Do you see how we need to go into that word? If you put them together, it's not as punchy, as it doesn't pop as much, right? So you put down divine, you put feminine, you put self-love, you put self-acceptance. So those are words, right? You can actually see how in writing about that, speaking about that, you go into each of those words. So what does it mean to be self-accepting? Does it mean we say, well, that's the way I am. If you don't like it, tough. No, I bet you have a better way to describe that, right? What do we mean by self-love? What if we don't like things about it? Do you see how you go deep into each word? Now, let's come up with a title. I'm going to tell you a 60-second story. Well, with those word banks, in the book Pop, I have, 25 different ways with those words. You don't repeat a cliche, you reverse a cliche. We actually alphabetize it like Tung Fu. I'm going to use a different technique for you because you use the word juicy, and I think this is going to come up with something juicy. Ready?
Yes.
60-second story, then we're going to do it for you. So a career counselor named Julie Jansen came to me years ago, and she wanted to write a book about careers and jobs. And she said, Sam, all the good titles are taken, like Take This Job and Love It, et cetera. And I said, Julie, tell me, what do people say to you when they come into your office? What do you hear all the time that's said with a lot of emotional vehemence? And she thought about it for a moment. She said, you know what they all say? I don't know what I want, but I know it's not this. Boom. That's the title of her book. That book has been selling for 20 years because think about, how to get a better job, how to have a good, how to get hired, blah, infobesity. No, I don't know what I want, but I know it's not this. People go, that's how I feel. Okay, back to you. When you're talking about being an inner goddess, I want you to start thinking about things you say about it or feel about it or think about it with an exclamation mark. Now just talk, 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 talk. Go.
So it's about embracing your body and your sensuality for yourself. It's about being connected.
Nope.
Nope.
You're talking about it. I want you to say something how you feel about how do you feel when you're inner goddess? How do you feel?
Sexy, juicy, and alive.
I am sexy. Want to be sexy? Want to feel alive? Keep going. Keep going.
Attractive.
I feel attractive.
Connected.
I feel connected. Now, I'm going to shortcut this. When you tell me about a situation recently where you were tapped into your inner goddess, put me in the scene. Where were you?
Well, I was actually at a retreat in Puerto Rico, and I was dancing, and I felt amazing.
Okay. Now, what were you dancing? Were you dancing salsa? Were you dancing what?
I was pole dancing.
You were pole dancing.
I was pole dancing with a very beautiful, sexy leather outfit.
You see, go there, right? You talked about being vulnerable, right? It's like now, do you see how you being willing to say the specifics of the situation, you are being a little bit more raw and a little bit more vulnerable. Do you feel it changed the whole conversation? We just got out of our head. I feel, blank, no, it's no juice there. Juice feather on a pole.
So basically, let me give you the context. So I study with Sheila Kelly, who was a guest here on the show twice, and I went to one of the retreats in Puerto Rico, and it's embodying, like, you try different outfit, you embody things, you release shame, and you release all shit, and you just feel really connecting to your body and your juiciness. And when I started that dance, I wanted to find an emotion that would get me into the dance. So I know there was some red light reflecting on the wall, and I just was like, I saw another lady dances, and I was like, wow, her silhouette looks so good in that light. So I went and I leaned against the wall and I let that light kind of like hold me, and I felt really beautiful. But then I used to get that feeling, like to use my senses and connect to my body. I did something I never done before. Because we were in a nice hotel, they gave us, there was some water and lemon and tea and whatever. So I took a piece of lime and I had it in my mouth and I bit into that lime, and that sour sensation was overwhelming. And then I even like I bit into that, and the bitterness, I don't know, it did something to my body. It felt electrified, and I was I was loose, and I felt naughty and powerful, and it just was like I was owning the room. It just felt amazing. And then I spit it in front of everybody because it was too bitter.
Okay, folks, listen to the difference. Listen to just 2 minutes ago, we were talking about our inner goddess, and it was a word, and it elicited no emotion in us because it was neck up. It was a word that had no sensory experience behind it or feeling behind it. We couldn't see it, we couldn't feel it. And in other words, we didn't relate to it because it was just a word. Now, we put people in the scene, and just as you did, we reenact the scene. Like when you were talking about it, we were right there with you. I can, and look at the juicy words that showed up. You bit into a lime, and you felt naughty, and you felt powerful.
I was so naughty. I was so bad. I felt so like bad, like a naughty provocateur in a really good way. But in a nice way, like not in a way where I'm like degrading or making anybody feel bad. Like actually, in I think it was very captivating, and it was very interesting, and it was very like, yay.
I get so excited when this happens because often in the space of a couple of minutes, what we're saying comes alive. I mean, look, you talked about lit up. Look about, okay, I'm writing down the words naughty. Naughty is a very interesting word, right? I can see a chapter in your book. Are you willing to be naughty? Right? And over on the left, now you would unpack it. You would ask people like, how do you feel about being naughty? Oh, I can't be naughty. That's bad. I was told never to be naughty. Did that shut you down? Did that prevent you from getting in your body and feeling, feeling alive and feeling powerful and feeling electrified and feeling right? It's like, how can you be naughty, as you said, in a way that doesn't degrade people? It's not over on the left bad, it's actually essential to tapping into your goddess in a way that this is feminine energy that has been shamed and shut down.
And I think it's inspiring because the moment a woman owns her power, other women rise as well.
Run with that. Why do other people rise when we own our power?
Because we give them permission. Like it's yeah, it gives them permission. It inspires them. Oh, if she can do it, can I? Because I'm a very different person in my everyday life than that version of me that showed up, that naughty version that showed up and surprised the heck out of everyone. And so you can be everything, and you should own all your parts and all your emotions because that's your power. both your tears and both your like naughtiness and your anger, all of it. It's who you are. And when you show up as your authentic self, are an inspiration for everyone around you.
Okay. Now, everyone listening and watching, what I do now is I write this down and you're recording this. So see, you've got a transcript and you don't have to recreate the wheel. You are creating, I don't even want to use the word content, because content, is often once again Chat GPT spits out. No, no, no. These words are pouring out of your soul and your gut. They're a result of your experience and your epiphanies. And what you're saying is that when we own our power, we give other people permission. Now that's a phrase that pays. That is a social media post right now. When we own our power, we give other people permission. See, it's one sentence. It's got alliteration. We kind of want to know more about it. So I hope you put that sentence on like a little visual, an Adobe, a Canvas a slide or something, and you put your name on it. Because if then you go over in the left, would you say, are you owning your power or are you shunning your power? Have you been told that if you're a power, you're an itch with a bee on it? What is preventing you from owning your power? Now you would shift people over to do you realize that you don't own your power in isolation? When you own your power, you are modeling for everyone around you that not only is it okay, that doing it is the secret to your success. If you're thinking at work, well, I can't do that, then what you're modeling for your employees is they can't do it either. And you're not just shutting yourself down, you're shutting them down too. Do you see how when you speak up powerfully, when you state how you feel or what you want, that your daughter goes, oh, I didn't know that was an option. I guess it's okay. I guess I'm going to do more of it too, right? Go ahead, run with that.
Yeah. So what is the title for the presentation?
Okay. For now, I'd go back into your words. So everything is in context. So, right. See, if you're speaking just to women and you're speaking at a retreat, if you want women in your retreat, if you want women to buy your book, then preliminarily I would go with, are you willing to be naughty?
I love it. It turns me on. It's so nice. It challenges me as a speaker, as a content creator that is not GPT, Chat GPT. I love that.
Okay, look, you laughed. Do you know how Einstein knew he had a good idea? He laughed out loud. Think about it. That's the moment. Oh, ha 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 ha. Chortle. It's an aha, right? Which means, oh, I haven't heard that before. I want to know more about that. What do you mean by naughty? Am I naughty? Ooh, am I afraid to be naughty? Do you see how everyone just goes, it is juicy. Now, let's think businesswoman. Right after our interview, go to GoDaddy.com or whatever and see if you can get Are You Willing to Be Naughty.com. Because if you do, you own that. You've got a book title. You've got a presentation title. You've got a retreat title.
That's amazing. If I knew that our conversation is going to lead me to that dance in Puerto Rico, like I would never in a million years, I would imagine that. It's crazy. You are amazing.
I'm so glad you like this because see, this is what I have come up with processes, questions, frameworks to unpack things. A common word, right? It's like even inner goddess, a neck up word. It's a word. However, what happened is we looked into your EEE, right? You started telling stories. We started pulling out your word bank from your real life human stories that are unique to you. We come up with a word and we think, I don't know if there's a book on that. I don't know if I've ever heard it speak on that. I think that you have come up with what I call a lead domino word. And a lead domino word means when you're talking about being divine feminine, inner goddess, do you see how the word naughty is kind of a gateway, an entryway to that? It's not everything about it, but it's a really intriguing entry to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Wow. It's amazing, Sam. You're unbelievable. Wow. Okay, but I have to be respectful of your time. And before we say, please come back. I'd love to have you on the show again. Before we say goodbye for now, what are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life and where can people find you?
I'm gonna play now. Start playing with leading a naughty life. Because see, stellar is a fine word, right? You could go with stellar and define stellar, your definition of it, etc. However, if you want to break out instead of blend in, because once again, blending in is for Cuisinarts, it's not for creatives, right? You will pop out more, you will break out more, you will get attention. And see, you already have your guardrails or your boundaries. You're not talking about being naughty, being degrading, or I would, after this call, write down other things on the left. People's fears about this, people's stereotypes about this word, people's like, well, I couldn't do that. Why? And over on the right, you have kind of a wholesome, sensual naughtiness that means the willingness to do things that make us feel juicy. And that's not bad. That's actually good, right? Okay. So my 3 tips on how to lead a naughty life. Oh, this is fun. I guess number one is do not be content to be common, because naughty is an uncommon word and it's already more interesting. And I already think there's a lot more to explore there that I am not currently thinking about or doing, or maybe wasn't even open to. And now I am, because of your Socratic questioning and experiences that helped me Socrates my life. Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. That one word, naughty, will help people examine their beliefs. Where did they get those beliefs? Are those beliefs even true anymore? What if I had a new belief? What would that unleash in me if I embrace this instead of was afraid of? So number one, do not be content to be common. The next tip is to do exactly what you did. Start unpacking it with, okay, what's my experience about this? What do I know? My expertise about this? What are my epiphanies about this? Write them down, because you're going to pull out your word bank. You're going to pull out words that you can use, that you can play with, and that you can pop. So unpack your EEE to come up with words that are going to help you be one of a kind instead of one of many. And then number 3 is pick out what pops out. That word naughty popped out of, and juicy too. Juicy did, although I know people have written about juicy, talked about juicy. It's not so much uncommon, right? But naughty is. So pick out what pops out, and now get the book Pop and start reading all the ways that you can play with that, expand on that, extend it. And when you come up with the phrase, come on, it's going to cost you $12. If you think, yeah, that would be the title of a book. Yeah, that would be a title of a retreat. Then go to whatever website registrar you go to and see if you can get that phrase. Because if you can get that phrase, you just have yourself a commercially viable business that lights you up, that lights other people up, and you can wrap a life and a career around that.
Thank you. Wow, Sam. And where can people find you and get all your how many books do you have? 10?
10 books. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Yeah. Where can they find them? They're all treasures.
Well, thank you. And it's really easy to remember. Now, 2 things. I hope they go to samhorn.com, because I put on clarity weekends all around the world where people come in for a weekend and whatever they want clarity on, whether it's a one of a kind title, whether it's like their next, how can I create a future that lights me up? There's information about our clarity weekends on samhorn.com. And I hope they follow me on LinkedIn, because my life is my lab. And when I get an idea, I run with it and I write about it. And so on LinkedIn are real life stories, are examples of what pops out in my world that maybe might pop out in your world too. So I hope to reconnect with people there.
Thank you, Sam. That was incredible. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and it works both ways. I want to see, are you willing to be naughty? Okay.
Yes. And thank you, listeners. Remember to unpack your experience, expertise, and epiphanies and be one of a kind. Never settle to be common, pick up what pops out, and have a naughty life. This is Orion. Till next time.